Luca, thanks for being with us, my man.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Luca, let's talk the decision to leave Heracles. The next move was always going to be the most important one. Why did you choose Celta de Vigo?
Yeah, obviously, with the way last season ended with Heracles, I needed to move. And I always wanted to make another step up to one of the best leagues in the world. And I have that opportunity here at Celta. So when I had the option, I took it right away. I knew it would be the right move for me.
Now, Luca, as a player, you always have your agent in your ear. You always have maybe the sporting director telling you there are some very interesting offers. Was Celta the only offer, or are there any other places that sort of intrigued you?
Yeah, there were other options. At the time, Celta was the one that was ready to go first. And I think in football, like maybe people have the idea that guys have 6 or 7 options every time they make a move, but usually you have 1 or 2. And it was really clear to me that this was the right one.
Now, you speak about this being the right move. It is a World Cup year, so it's very important. Chacho Coudet, the head coach at Celta de Vigo, have you spoken to him? What have you found out or heard about maybe what your role will be with Celta?
Yeah, the football they play here is really attacking, kind of with more 3 offensive midfielders, a little bit higher up the pitch. So I'm going to be fitting into one of those positions. And as far as the style of play, I think it matches what I'm good at. It's a lot of combinations, passing, keeping the ball, also countering very fast, and running a lot and pressing.
Do you feel LaLiga was best suited for your traits, or do you think there's maybe another league out there that best suits you?
I think that I could fit in anywhere with good players, and that's why I'm really excited about this. Is just playing with better players, and I'm just enjoying even training so far. It's been really good for me.
All right, Luca, let's backtrack. I got to ask a question. How does a 15-year-old from San Diego end up in England in one of the most American teams ever in Fulham?
Yeah, it was kind of a crazy decision, I guess, looking back at it, like moving halfway across the world when I was so young. But at the time, I felt like my options were either to go to residency, to go to Europe and play in an academy, or to maybe kind of take a step back and decide to go to college on a scholarship for football. So I decided to go to Fulham. And
Is there maybe some unfinished business in the Premier League for you?
Yeah, I would love to play in the Premier League. I think that maybe in the future that would really be something I would want to do.
What's it like to come back to the national team in this setup? And now I'll phrase it this way: with guys that you already know, because we talk youth national teams. You've been in youth national teams with guys like Tyler Adams, Christian Pulisic. What's it like to be back on the national team, but with those guys?
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it, that we've known each other since we were 12 years old, maybe some even younger. And to have, like, I guess 5 guys come through and play for the national team, maybe more. Yeah, it's good. It's always like a really good feeling when we meet up too, because those are guys that went through something similar that I did. Everyone moved to Europe when they were really young. So it's a really unique experience, like being an American in Europe by yourself when you're young, a football player. So in a way, those are like the only guys that we've all been through the same thing. So it's nice to see them.
What are you thinking? What's going on in your head when you're seeing these guys get called up and they've been there since the beginning with you and you're not part of that setup? Like, what was your psyche then at that moment?
Yeah, it was really difficult. I had a couple hard seasons at Fulham where I was injured for maybe like 8 months out of 2 seasons or something, and that was at the time Christian was breaking in at Dortmund and Weston was playing. I think Tyler moved to Germany around then as well. So, it was difficult for me because I know these guys and they're really, really good players. But at the time, I felt like I wasn't getting opportunities because of things that were, maybe some things out of my control. Maybe I was a bit unlucky. Maybe I could have done some things better. But yeah, it was definitely like motivating though to see that they could do it, and I knew that if they could do it, then I was good enough too.
Now, you spoke about Christian Pulisic. What's it like for you to see the rise of Christian Pulisic? Because you guys were teenagers together. What's the evolution of Christian Pulisic been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, what I like about Christian, what I admire about him the most is that he's a really tough guy. You know, he's able to recognize when things are hard, and when they're hard, he really turns up and doesn't hide, right? And I think that's really admirable. Yeah.
2018, you got your debut with the U.S. men's national team. It was a few years later till you came back and got that second crack. You're very much into the mix of the World Cup in that rotation, in that roster. You're fighting for a spot right now. What's your mentality? Do you realize what's at stake? What's going through your head?
Yeah, it's a really exciting time, in my career. I think like every other player on the roster, I'm fighting for minutes. I'm fighting for a starting spot. I want to help the team win games, So I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing, working really hard, trying to take opportunities when they come and see where that takes me.
What's the path for you, Luca, been like to the U.S. men's national team when you look back at it?
Yeah, I guess it was strange making my debut when I was 19. Because in my opinion, I didn't really deserve it. It was kind of a transition period in the national team. I think I played the whole season in the reserves at Fulham. I maybe had 5 or 6 appearances, and at the end of the season, I made my debut for the first team. But after when I'd broken in at Heracles, that was when I felt like, okay, I deserve this. I should be here now. I want the minutes. I want the opportunities. And so it took a while for me to get to that stage, definitely.
I'm curious, you saying you don't think you deserved it. I don't think I've ever heard a footballer say they've not deserved something like a full national team call-up. But your psyche in that moment, you think maybe you weren't ready for it? Are you more ready for it now?
Yeah, definitely. At that time in my career, I hadn't played barely any first team minutes. By the time I started, I was called up by Greg and started playing. With him, I was, more of a professional player.
Well, let's go back to the national team for a second. How do you feel in this national team setup? What's been the feedback from Greg Berhalter like?
Yeah, I feel good. I think that, the thing with the national team is that you get, very few opportunities. And when you get an opportunity, you have to do well and make it stick. Especially when you're a player that doesn't play for a super high profile club. When I was at Heracles, I had the feeling that every time I played, I had to, if I had a 10-minute cameo, I had to make 5 or 6 good actions, or else I wouldn't get another chance, So at this point, I feel like I've, kind of done that enough. I have a little bit of breathing room, so that's nice.
Now, as far as the national team and how old these guys are, some would say that could be a disadvantage. You guys are going to be the youngest team at the World Cup by a whole year. I think the second youngest is Ecuador. Do you see it as a disadvantage?
I don't think so. I think it's exciting. I think that you get different things when you play with younger players. You can get fearlessness and guys that will play with, take risks, even though it's a big stage. So I think that has the potential to have some big upsets at the World Cup.
Well, Luca, I'm rooting for you. Hope you do well, my man. Kill it in LaLiga, and good luck in the World Cup.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.